Hey guys, Buff Game Back today, bringing you my video. Today we're going over NVG or night mode builds that you can use for your weapon here with the Haunting of Verdansk launcher. And today we have nighttime DMZ and nighttime battle royale on Almazra. So let's go ahead. We'll jump into some builds you can use at night. Now keep in mind when you are using NVGs on your character, if you do happen to pick them up, you will typically cant your laser depending on the attachments. So you will be in a canted sight. But these you can use with obviously good builds when you actually have NVGs or just on the night maps in general. So go ahead and jump into it. First off here, we have the APC 300. So I know we have, I think, 4 or 5 total APCs here in the game, different builds. But this is actually a pretty good build. I was running it a little bit today. Gonna run with the Knights Armament Company suppressor here, the Silentfire XG6. Gonna also run the Series 4MR. This is gonna give us the recoil control on this weapon. Just because we're running with 300 blackout, this will give us a little bit more recoil control. The best in-slot recoil control barrel, even over these longer ones. So this is the one I typically like to run with this. Gonna run the Schlager Night View. This is a 6x optic with a thermal target identifier. It's actually a really good optic for this map. It allows you to see in the nighttime, allows you to see enemies really, really clear, AI, zombies, players, all of that pretty clearly. And honestly, it's a clean sight. So we'll take a look at it here in the firing range. Gonna run 300 blackout over pressure rounds for no enemy skulls. We also have damage and flinch for the target. Cons are bullet velocity and fire rate. Then we're going to run the Hex 40 grip again, just for a recoil steadiness. You have some hip fire there. It's just a good all-around grip, specifically for this weapon with the higher kick with the 300 blackout. So that's our build. Again, running it in clean black there. Or this is actually the base cam, or the base black that it comes with. But again, looks clean, really good for the nighttime map. We'll take a look at it here in the firing range in a second. Next up, we're going to run an SR25 build. So this is a build you guys have seen, pretty much the M110 SAS. Running the armor-piercing rounds on there, which you can swap out for something else if you want. Bipod grip. Gonna run the Chroma LRS. This is that inwardly suppressed barrel for the weapon. Gonna give you bullet velocity, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy. Skip out on the laser. We're gonna run this is an interesting one. The 3X RFL optic. This is a Russian night vision optic, but it allows you to toggle from 3 to 8 times. So this is actually really, really good for the SR25 because it is, again, a marksman rifle. It's more of a mid to mid long range weapon, but it's very, very effective close range too. So with the 3 to 8 times, you can pretty much fit both roles with this thing. If you need to use it close quarters, you can easily with the 3 times, and if you need to stretch it out there with 8 times, you can do that. And it looks really, really good in the nighttime map, I believe too. So go ahead and try that. We're gonna run the base stock here for the M16, the Demo Precision, give us more recoil control and just fit an M110. So that's the build here for the M110. Using this big, beefy night vision optic. Let's go ahead now, and we will jump into the firing range so you guys can see these. So first off, with the APC 300, again, just a clean gun, all right? It looks pretty good with this optic on there. This is an optic I haven't really ever used, but looks clean. You can see it's a really clean sight picture, really clean reticle also. And again, this build just is pretty accurate, and I had some really good PvPs with this thing also, so. Now again, you may want to switch out some attachments. I'm only running the base 30 round here with the 300 blackout, but you can probably swap out a laser or some other attachment for maybe a 40 round magazine. I think it comes with. So again, a really nice weapon. Looks really clean on the night vision map and hits hard. This is still a pretty underrated gun. I think it caught some nerfs and people really stopped using it, but it's actually really, really good. I had some good PvP with this. Next out, the SR25 build with this ridiculous big Russian optic. But honestly, like I said, if it fills both roles close and medium to long, go ahead and take a look at it. So here we got the 3 times to the 8. Now it looks, you know, obviously there's light there, so it's not the best. But when you're in actual on the night map and you're not in like well-lit areas, this is where this thing thrives. So here's the 3 times. You know, we can, again, this is perfect for these types of ranges, right? And then if we needed to stretch it out with the 8 times, we can. So I was doing some counter sniping with this thing too. And keep in mind with the bipod grip, you can mount this thing. So it's pretty easy to mount the gun with a bipod grip. If you're counter sniping from a hill or anything like that, allows you to mount, which is definitely very helpful for accuracy. And again, just with the 3 times magnification there, it's super accurate. So if you get in a situation where you need to use this closer range, you definitely can. So those are our first 2 weapons, APC 300 and the SR25. Moving on, we have, now ignore the names here, I didn't rename the classes, but we have the SIG Rattler and the Mark 14 EBR. So for the SIG Rattler, the M13C is what we're running here. We're going to run it with the Harbinger D20 just for max recoil with the suppressor, and you can see the pros and cons there. Damage range, recoil smoothness, velocity, sound suppression. So this is really the better suppressor for this weapon because you really need all the recoil control you can get with this particular build. Going to run the 1x Ares or Artemis laser. This is just aiming stability, but you'll see why we're running this. This isn't visible to anything but with the optic. So with the optic, we're running the thermal optic X9. This is that toggled thermal 5x5 or the 1.5 with the holotherm. And you'll see why we're running it because you can see this laser with this optic. So it's kind of like a little bit of a leg up because no one else can see your laser, but it gives you really, really clean eyes on target with the thermal optics. Then we're going to run the Bruin flash stock here. This is going to give us the sprint speed, aiming stability, or excuse me, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. The cons are going to be the recoil control there. So you can probably swap that out to one that's going to give you better recoil. That's your call. I just kind of did it for more so aesthetic purposes. Then we're going to run the Cronin Groove Shock grip. So this is a pretty clean grip. I like it. Again, mainly for hip fire. But you can swap it out for some of these other grips that are going to help you with a little bit more recoil. But this is actually a pretty good build. So this is the SIG Rattler 300 Blackout. Used it pretty effectively in PvP also. So it's a nice build in the night mode. Then we have the Mark 14 EBR. So again, this is the EBR 14. We're going to run the Talon 5 suppressor. Again, the better in-slot for recoil control, damage at range suppressor. Base barrel, no laser. We're going to run the Heat Source 800. This is going to give us 8.7 times magnification with a thermal optic, and that's going to be a clean optic to use. We're going to run the SO90 factory stock. Is give us max recoil and aim stability for this build. And then we're going to run a 15-round magazine and a Magpul vertical foregrip or the Op X9 foregrip for a little bit of recoil and hipfire accuracy. So this is our EBR 14. Looking really clean. Let's go ahead now and jump into the firing range with these weapons. So first up, our SIG Rattler. Do the inspect, looking really nice. And now look, you can see the laser. But if I got rid of this, right, no one else is going to see the laser except for you using your thermal or if somebody else has thermal. So, pretty good. Really good. You know, you really want to tap fire this just because it does kind of kick like crazy. But at those closer ranges, you can definitely let it rip. Even the longer ranges, if you can control the recoil, which is still pretty difficult with this build. I did dump on some players at some decent distances and get the kills, but these longer ranges, you probably want to get rid of that magnification. And just let it rip with a 1.5 times. A little bit easier to control. So that's our SIG Rattler in 300 Blackout. Mark 14 EBR. So this thing, I picked up a very similar build off a player today. Really clean build, and the optic is pretty nice. I've used this before in regular Warzone and DMZ, but this is just a really clean optic. So definitely ideal for the night mode, especially if you had some of the bundles which even give you a cleaner optic with the blue dot in the middle. So, and it gives you like a blue overlay versus this being a green. But still, looks really good regardless. And again, it allows you to spam fire some of the SR25, really get shots on target at those medium ranges. So, let me know your thoughts with that build, those builds. Going back out. We have a P90 and a shotgun. So these, you probably don't want to like pair these together, but the P90 build, we're going to run the integral suppressor, the 16-inch integrally suppressed barrel for sound suppressor, recoil, bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy. We're going to, again, run this thermal laser combo, so the 1x Artemis laser with the holotherm on this one. And we're going to run the Mac 8 on-track comb for aiming stability and recoil steadiness. And then we're going to just run an operator foregrip there, mainly for hip. It doesn't even give my pros and cons for whatever reason, but yeah, it's going to give you some hipfire accuracy, recoil steadiness. So this is our P90. Again, really good for close quarters. Now, again, you don't want to run it with this gun, but you can definitely run this gun because a lot of the bosses, you're going to get into a lot of PvP and some close quarters situations, and we ran into a lot of fire shotguns. This one here is not a fire shotgun, but it is still a very good build. So the Vepr 12 build here, we're going to run the ZLR Sport 8. And again, you can kind of change up the barrels for whichever you think is better. But we're on the ZLR Sport 8. Going to run the Hip Shot L20. The Dash Bolt. Again, this is going to give us faster rate of fire. So definitely we want that faster rate of fire. 25-round drum and the pineapple grip. So let's go ahead, check these out in the firing range. First off with the P90. firing that 5.7 by 28. I was using this in PvP, and again, it just really shreds close quarters. Definitely an underrated weapon here in Warzone DMZ. But again, these close quarters, you get 50 rounds at base, and it just kind of slaps pretty hard. So P90, really good gun. And again, you can see that laser when no one else can. So that's always a plus. Helps you get eyes on target. If your buddies are using thermals or lasers, they can see where your laser is. So it definitely helps and makes things interesting for sure. Next up, a shotgun. Nothing crazy here with this one. Obviously, no night vision optics or anything on this, but for things like the Pharaoh's Tomb and some of the other bosses on the night maps in DMZ, like these close quarter situations, you almost kind of need it, because we ran into it a couple times, mainly fire shotguns, but to have this in those close quarter situations would be definitely very good. So let me know your thoughts about that if you run into some players with that. Would have done me some good if I were running it today. Next up, we're going to run an AK-104 build. So you can see the 104 build here. We have the PBS 1 suppressor. Yes, the Castovia DX90. Again, this gives us kind of the best recoil for these 7.62x39 classes. So the PBS 1, we're going to run the Midwest Industries M-Lock with 342mm Socken KL grip. Going to run the thermal optic on this. Now, again, you can swap out for that laser combo that I was using, but I'm not using it here because we're kind of running more of a tacked out AK. Going to run the PT1 Zenico butt stock or the MK14 R7 stock, and then the Merc foregrip. And then we just have this clean camo on here, which looks really nice. So this is our AK-104 build. And then next up, we're running it with the XM2010. XM2010, we're running the bolt for rechamber speed, the ST87. We're going to be running the high velocity rounds, the F-Tech Reaper suppressor, best for damage at range, recoil smoothness, bullet velocity. Base barrel is all you need here. The Oli-V laser and the Cronin SCHS800. This is a thermal optic, 12.5 times magnification. So it has a very large sniper glint, so just be aware of that, but really nice build. So here is the XM2010. Take a look at the optic here. So again, in the nighttime, this is going to be very, very useful because you really don't... I feel like the Raptor sight with the rangefinder isn't really as useful here just because with those longer distances, it's going to be hard to see players on buildings. So this is gives you pretty much the same zoom, but it's going to thermal optic here. So you're going to be able to see the enemy like a highlighter. So that's our XM2010, our AK-104 build. Just a beautiful looking build with this camo here. Now again, you can run that laser combo that I was showing with that 1x laser to see, but I just kind of want to tag this thing out a little bit. But again, you can see through this optic pretty clearly. Good recoil control on this. Again, it's mainly for closer quarters, obviously. And the AK-104 or the 103 at base still hits really hard. I know they gave it some nerfs recently, but still a really good gun. So that's our AK-104 and our XM2010. I think we have hopefully just one more here for you guys. Yeah, one more. So we're going to be running right here, we're going to be running the RM277. So this build here, pretty cool build actually. The F-Tech Reaper grip. Going to run the Cronin SPDR suppressor. We're going to run that same 1mW PEC laser. Now you can swap this out. This one really, you can't see it. So you can swap this out for any attachment, but it does give you aiming stability. We're going to run the Aggressor IR optic. So this one, 6.3 magnification, thermal optic identifier. You're going to get a small sniper glint on it, but still, it's going to let your enemies stand out pretty easily. Then we're going to run a 30-round magazine. So this is our RM277 for that 6.8 by 51mm round. You'll see how that looks in the gun range with the optic. Is really clean. Then we're going to run the APC 9mm. So the Extend Black Kit or Night, whatever you want to say, Kite, whatever it is, suppressor sound, the Osprey suppressor, sound suppression, bullet velocity, recoil smoothness, and recoil control. We're also going to run a 1mW on here for aiming stability, but however, you can really run kind of whatever you want. If you want to run one of these so you can actually see it, because we're not using a night optic here. The SC Sigma optic is going to give you a yellow reticle, which is going to help the enemy stand out at nighttime, especially with a laser combo. We're going to run the hollow points, because I just didn't want to run the 50. You can be a little bit faster with this. and then the Magpul vertical foregrip or the Op X9. So let's go ahead, jump in, take a look at this bad boy. Start with the RM277. Again, this is the General Dynamics bid for the NGSW, which is beaten out by the SIG Spear, the XM7. Clean sight picture, really easy to see the enemies. And then we have the APC 9mm. So the APC 9mm, again, looking clean. Really fast rate of fire. You may want to use a 50-round mag with this, but again, I kind of did it because I wanted to be fast with this still. And you're really using it in close quarters, so at this point, the range you should be using this, you should easily be able to take out 1 or 2 people with this gun at the ranges you should be using it before you need to reload with the 30-round mag alone. So, really fast rate of fire, clean. And the RM277 still one of my favorite guns here in the game. A lot of fun to use. There we go. So those are all of our builds here for the night vision game modes. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which builds are your favorite? Which builds do you have that you're running here in game? Let me know your thoughts down below. Next time, this is Buffner Gaming with night vision weapons. Till next time, Buffner Gaming.